It is post-All-Star break, and the Texas Rangers are playing host to the Minnesota Twins here at Globe Life Field. Lance Lynn, the big right-hander, getting the start for the 18th time this season for Texas, and opposing him will be a right-hander of the Minnesota Twins, Randy Dobnak, making his 10th start of the 2020 campaign. Start things off bottom half of the first inning, it's Willie Calhoun connecting on a pitch into right center field. It's cut off by the center fielder, though, and that's going to hold him to a base knock with 2 outs, and then Ronald Guzman comes to the plate, and he says, bye-bye baseball. That one is way out of here. A no-doubt shot, 2-run home run to kick things off and gives the Rangers a 2-0 lead. Joey Gallo would then come to the plate, gets a hanging slider, and then he just can't do what Guzman just did, and he pops up the foul territory. What is going on, Joey Gallo? As then we move on to the second inning, where Lance Lynn gets a chopper from Cruz, and Guzman makes the play on his back foot, off-balance throw over to first base, and then Lynn would proceed to strike out Donaldson and the catcher Mitch Garver to complete the 1-2-3 inning. Move things on to the bottom of the second now, where Danny Santana's at the dish with a full count, and he connects on one, sends that over the head of the right fielder Max Kepler in right field, and it's going to be a 2-bagger for the fleet-footed Santana, so he's in scoring position with nobody out, but Todd Father is going to drive one a long way over the left field fence, a no-doubt 2-run shot, an upper deck shot for the Todd Father, and it gives the Rangers a 4-0 lead. Not the game that Dobnak wanted to have for the Twinkies. So top half of the third now, and Miguel Sano gets a pitch that he can handle, and that's going to be a home run for the Twins as Sano makes it a 4-1 ball game. Move things on top of the fourth, it's Max Kepler drawing himself a leadoff walk, so he's on first. After that, it's Arraez, and he's going to smack one into left field, and that's going to be first and second for the Twins with nobody out. Then brings up Nelson Cruz, who whips through a curveball, so 1 down, runners on first and second. Next batter up, Donaldson, whiffing through the cutter. And then Lynn would proceed to strike out Mitch Garver as well. Gives up the first 2 base runners, but then 3 straight strikeouts to get out of the jam for Lance Lynn. And in the top of the 6th, the Twins brought on some reliever. I'm blanking on his name. Bailey something or something Bailey? Homer Bailey. That's right. Oh my God, what a coincidence. Robinson Cano, home run, right field, solo shot. Makes it a 5-1 lead for the Texas Rangers. Move things on to the top of the 9th. DeMarcus Evans comes on in a non-save situation. And with 1 out, Nelson Cruz is at the plate, and he's going to hit one into right center field. Nobody's there because of the shift. And that's going to get down into the gap. So Cruz is in second base with a double with 1 out. Next batter up to Josh Donaldson, who's going to pull one down the left field line. That's going to get up against the wall. And then Calhoun throw into the cutoff man. Then the throw to the plate. Cruz is going to score. It's now a 5-2 game. But then Evans would clutch up as he strikes out Garver for out number 2. And then Eddie Rosario came to the plate and pops one up to deep left field. But Calhoun ranges back and puts that one away for the 3rd out of the inning and the final out of the ball game as the Texas Rangers close this one out and pick up the win over the Minnesota Twins here at home by a score of 5-2. Player of the game honors goes to Lance Lynn. He went 7 innings strong, only gave up 3 hits, struck out 10 batters, only 1 run and 1 walk as well. Miguel Sano, one of the 6 hits on the day for the Twins, was a solo shot. Nelson Cruz had a double, and then so did Josh Donaldson. On the Texas Rangers side of things, we had Guzman and Frazier, both with 2-run shots. Chirinos had himself a solo shot, and Danny Santana went 2 for 3 with a double and a run scored. And we now move things on to the trade deadline. We're just going to skip right ahead to the deadline. Played the 1 game. We're going to do this trade deadline, and then we are going to do 1 game after the trade deadline. So who did we actually trade? The first one was Juan Nicasio. We shipped him to the Colorado Rockies in return for former Minnesota Golden Gopher shortstop Terrin Vavra. Nicasio is a solid relief pitcher. Colorado is a team that is in a very tight National League wildcard race, and they need bullpen help. So Nicasio fills their need that they have, and Vavra is just a decent middle infield, see-potential bat, probably more suited to be a second baseman, but he is a guy worth having in the organization, I feel. So Vavra is now a member of the Rangers organization. We then decided to ship off Robinson Chirinos back to the Houston Astros as we get former Michigan Wolverine Jordan Brewer, the outfielder slash first baseman. Chirinos spent 2019 with Houston, obviously, and then he returned to the Rangers on a one-year deal for this season. Houston's starting catcher Maldonado is out with a torn groin, and Garrett Stubbs has been very bad for them, so they need a second option at the catcher position anyways, and Chirinos is currently having the best year of his career since 2017, and he's already very familiar with the Astros pitching staff. Seems like a move that makes a lot of sense to me, so we are going through with it, as Jordan Brewer is a 22-year-old B-potential outfielder slash first baseman, like I said, and as with most of the guys I trade for in this video, we'll eventually be getting a prospect profile where we dive deeper into their ratings. The next trade we made was sending left-handed pitcher Mike Minor, who was having a great season and on the last year of his deal, to the Minnesota Twins for Jordan Balazovic. Balazovic is a 21-year-old B-potential right-handed pitcher, and as the same with Brewer, he is probably going to be getting a prospect profile at some point, probably next season, probably early on in the season. And the Twins are a team that are very much still in their division race in the AL Central, and as well as the wildcard one, so I felt like they needed another starter to push them over the hump and hopefully help them have a deep playoff run, and Mike Minor is definitely a guy who they would look to upgrade at that position with. We then decided to trade our big main asset in Corey Kluber. We sent him to the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that is having a great season and are definitely looking to win now and win a World Series now. They have pretty much no competition in their division, but they are going to probably need a deeper pitching staff once the playoff time comes around, so Corey Kluber helps them do that. And in return, because Corey Kluber is such a big asset in this game, we get shortstop Bryce Turang. I'm not sure how you say his last name. I'll figure it out between now and the next video. Right-handed starter Phil Bickford, and left-handed reliever Clayton Andrews. Turang, whatever his name is, will 1000% be getting a prospect profile either this year or immediately next season, we'll do the opening day episode, and then bam, it'll be his prospect profile. Phil Bickford is a 23-year-old B-potential pitcher who used to be viewed as one of the best prospects in baseball. I will touch more on that either in a prospect profile or probably more likely with him, a minor league update video. And then the third piece is left-handed reliever Clayton Andrews, who is a very interesting player, but his ceiling is definitely a lot lower than the other two. But like I said, very interesting player. He is a left-handed reliever, but he is super small for a pitcher. He's only 5'6", and he was a two-way player at Long Beach State. He was a dirtbag at Long Beach State. Hitting ratings aren't necessarily good, per se, in this game, but it does open up some interesting possibilities with ways we could implement his skill set at the major league level, and at the very least, he can just be an effective lefty for us out of the bullpen. And then the final trade that we made was sending Todd Frazier, the Todd father, to the Tampa Bay Rays, where he will be spending the rest of the 2020 season, along with Yadiel Rivera, who was just like a throw-in in the deal. And then we get infielder Michael Brousseau and catcher slash corner outfielder Chris Herman in return. Todd Frazier's value really isn't that high at all in this game. He has a C potential, so we weren't able to get too much for him, but I am happy with what we were able to get for him. Brousseau is a solid player. He can play all around the infield. He can hit a little bit. He's decently fast. We have plenty of team control left with him. He's never going to be like our future option at third base as a guy who's going to be the main part of our team, but he could definitely be a key part of our team for years to come as a bench player and a guy who gets starts here and there. The plan for him for the rest of the season, though, is for him to be the third baseman while Josh Jung is still developing down in the minor leagues. And Tampa Bay had a ton of injuries to their third baseman / first baseman players, and they still were not using Brosseau, so we decided that we were going to take him off their hands, and Todd Frazier gives them a very solid player to fill in either of those corner infield spots that they need help at right now. And then Chris Herman gives up his option to replace Robinson Chirinos for the rest of the season, and if he plays well, he has one more year of team control left that we could bring him back and he could be a part of the catching tandem with Sam Huff for the 2021 campaign. And now time for the CPU team trades. As you can see, there is only one CPU team trade. The Red Sox sent Marcus Walden to the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Rays gave them Vidal Bruin, whatever his name is, and then Shane McClanahan. That's not ideally what I wanted to happen, where it was only one CPU trade happening, but I'm going to explain why we got to this point. So as most of you are aware, we are doing 30 team control in this series, and that is because it just gives me more options to be able to monitor CPU teams. Unfortunately, you cannot veto trades in 30 team control anymore like you used to be able to do. For those of you who've been playing the show for years, you probably remember when trades were not instant. You would have to send somebody a trade and then sim a day or two, and then that team would get back to you on if they accepted the trade or not. That is not the deal anymore. Now, if you send a trade through, it gets accepted or declined immediately. Because that's the way it works always, and there's no option to turn it back to the previous setting, you can't go into the trade offers and look at what's going through and be like, that one's not good, veto that. I did that with the Texas Rangers, not the Texas Rangers, this is with the New York Yankees franchise that I had in MLB 15, 16, whatever year it was I did the Yankees franchise. I did this. I was simming day by day, declining trades I didn't want to go through. That is not a possibility anymore, because as with a lot of things that actually make sense and are cool to have in franchise in this game, they were removed. So they can just never address it and then add stuff like quick manage and quick moments or vital whatever the hell they want, critical moments. Nobody who plays franchise mode seriously uses any of that garbage. It's all just stupid stuff they're adding to be like, hey, you don't play franchise? Well, here's maybe a reason for you to play franchise, but you're never actually going to choose franchise over Diamond Dynasty anyway, so it doesn't even matter. We're just alienating people who actually play franchise. So yeah, that's why we haven't been able to veto trades in this series like we've been able to do in previous franchises. But essentially what I was doing was I would sim a day, check the transactions. If a trade went through that I did not like, I would then reload the save from the previous day, and then boot it up again and hope it doesn't happen when I sim that day again. If a trade didn't happen, or I was fine with a trade that did happen that day, I would just sim that day and then save and then repeat the process. And I did that every single day, and I will continue to do that every single day of this franchise pre-deadline. But the issue that I ran into once we got up to the trade deadline is that no matter how many times I simmed those last 2 days and then reloaded the save, every single time it was just the worst possible outcome. It was the same like 6 to 8 trades happening every single time, and I did this at least 50 times. I probably simmed those 2 days, saw the trades, was disgusted by them, reloaded the save, did that again about 50 times. I'm not exaggerating at all. There was one trade where the Red Sox kept sending Rafael Devers to the Dodgers for a bunch of mid-tier prospects, and as much as I hate the Red Sox, I'm not trying to see their absolute entire core destroyed even more halfway through Season 1. The Blue Jays, who are like 2 games out of first place in the AL East and like the top wildcard team, they kept trying to trade away Gurriel for like a bunch of C potential prospects. The Pirates kept trying to trade Josh Bell for absolutely nothing to another team that's also out of the race. There was another one where they kept trying to trade Jamison Taillon for nothing. I kept seeing the same exact trade between Kansas City and Atlanta pop up, where they would send Adalberto Mondesi to the Braves for Drew Waters and Shea Langeliers, or however you say his name. And it's just like, I'm fine with the Royals trading away pieces, but like, that's the one guy you shouldn't be trading away. Like, trade away somebody like Whit Merrifield, or a veteran guy. Trade away Perez. Don't trade away Mondesi. That's like the one guy you should be keeping. And I should also mention that this Rays Marcus Walden trade, that happened just about every single time I did the saves. I did the sim 2 days and reload and whatnot. I think there was maybe one time where I didn't do it, where I did it and this trade did not go through. That's how common that trade was. So after doing this whole sim the 2 days thing, see the trades and whatnot, for about 50 times, I just decided I would drop the trade frequency slider down to like 6 instead of 10 and just roll with the day where the best case scenario happened. And I decided the best case scenario was that trade being the only trade that happened. Now, as we get farther in this franchise, I'll probably start to care less about how bad trades are, because it just, I don't know, once we get into like season 4, if like somebody trades somebody who's currently like the number 2 prospect for like a C potential guy, it doesn't really matter much. And there'll obviously be like more fake guys in the league at that point and whatnot, but I just didn't want to see teams simultaneously blow up their current team and future in halfway through year 1. And let's finally move on from talking about all these trades. As you can see, we are now into early August, as the Rangers have been playing extremely well since making all those trades. 8-2 in their last 10 games, currently on a 7-game win streak, going for the sweep of the Detroit Tigers. Obviously, the Tigers are a lot worse than us. They have like 80-something losses already, but still, nonetheless, it is impressive that the Rangers have been playing good baseball since making all those trades, kind of screwing our draft position next season, but it is interesting to see. And since we traded 3 pitchers at the deadline, 2 starters and a reliever, we called up 3 pitchers to replace them. Colby Allard is back in the rotation, the lefty. We also called up Kyle Cody, who is possibly like the worst 2 names you could combine. It's just like Monster Guy and Monster Guy. Kyle Cody was already on a 40-man, so we called him up to be a part of the rotation as well. The former Kentucky Wildcat. Luke Farrell was the reliever that we called up to replace Juan Nicasio. Probably going to call up some other guys as well at some point, rather than Farrell, but as of right now, he is the reliever in Nicasio's spot. And as far as the new look lineups goes, all of Shin-Soo Choo, Rougned Odor, and Andy Ibanez are all back from their injuries. Joey Gallo is dropped in the order, and he's starting to hit a lot better now. Ronald Guzman was moved up in the order versus right-handed pitching, and he is actually starting against lefties now, but he is towards the bottom of the order against lefties, while Chris Herman is the starting catcher, and Michael Brousseau is the starting third baseman versus both sides, while Andy Ibanez is the second baseman versus lefties, and Odor is on the bench against lefties. So the Texas Rangers playing host to the Detroit Tigers at Globe Life Field, while on the hill for the Rangers is the tall right-hander Kyle Cody, making his second start of his career since being called up from the minor leagues. We'll start things off with him in the top of the first inning. The American League stolen base leader Cameron Maybin's going to bloop one into center field for a base knock, and then Victor Reyes comes to the plate. Pitch gets away from Herman. That's going to get to the backstop, and Maybin's in scoring position with nobody out. Victor Reyes would then whiff through a pitch for out number 1, though. So with runner on second base and 1 out, it's Miguel Cabrera, who is going to hit a ball into left center field. That's going to get down into the gap, driving a run, and the Tigers have themselves a 1-0 lead with Miggy on second base. Next batter up would be Jonathan Scope, who chops one over to Brousseau at third base for out number 2, and then Cody would clutch up and get out of the inning, getting another ground ball at the shortstop from Christian Stewart, as he would clutch up. Got rocked around a little bit, but not too much, as it's a 1-0 game, and Spencer Turnbull comes on or makes the start, I should say, for the Tigers, and Willie Calhoun says, "Welcome to the ball game," sends that one into the right field seats, ties the game up at 1, as Willie Calhoun continues to show his power off in this 2020 season. Bottom of the second, top of the second, I should say, Kyle Cody still on the hill, as Joey Gallo has some trouble with that one in center field. It's going to be a double for Castro, and that's going to be a double for him, and it's going to mark the end of me actually making the plays in the field. Auto fielding, you are now on. And we move on to the rest of the inning. Austin Romine, complete non-threat offensively, whiffs through the fastball nowhere near the zone, and then It would be Goodrum getting punched out on the up and in fastball for out number 2, but then Isaac Paredes is going to bloop one into center field. Gallo coming on. The throw to the plate is going to be not in time, as that's going to be a 2-1 lead for the Tigers now. Move things on, bottom of the second. Joey Gallo draws himself a walk to lead off the inning, so he's on first. Danny Santana also draws himself a walk, so first and second, nobody out. How about Chris Herman, the new catcher, also draws a walk, so 3 straight walks. Brings on Rougned Odor with the bases juiced, and all 4 pitches to him are nowhere near the zone, so even he draws a walk. Run comes in, ties the game at 2, and then Michael Brousseau gets 2 strikes on him, then a hanging slider that he blasts at the center field, but not deep enough to get out. That's just going to tag up a run to score and also move a runner over to third, so runners on the corners. 3-2 lead for Texas. Shin-Soo Choo then hits a hard grounder up the middle, and the diving play from the shortstop tags the bag at second. A run comes in, but it saves another one, as it's a 4-2 game now, and then Elvis Andres chops one over to third base for the final out of the inning, but the Rangers do have themselves a 4-2 lead in this game now. Top of the third as Kyle Cody is settling in now, strikes out Reyes for out number 1, strikes out Cabrera for out number 2, the future is now, old man, and then strikes out Jonathan Scope for out number 3. Kyle Cody strikes out the side. We move things on to the top of the fourth now. 2 outs, runner on first. Nico Goodrum's going to hit one over to left field. That's going to hit off the bottom of the wall. And the runner Castro from first base is going to try to score. The relay from Andrus gets him at the plate. Score remains 4-2. Now onto the top of the 5th. It's Cameron Maben poking one past Odor at second base for a 1-out single. And then the next batter up, Victor Reyes decides to lay down a 1-out sacrifice bunt. The classic smart strategy play. We love strategy, folks. As it's now a runner on second base with 2 outs, Miguel Cabrera comes to the plate, and he softly grounds out to Brousseau at third base. Score remains 4-2. Brilliant 200 IQ play from Ron Gardenhire there. Bo Burrows then came on for the Tigers in the bottom of the 6th inning. He would walk Joey Gallo to kick off that. And then the next batter up, Danny Santana connects on a pitch, sends one out to right field, and that's going to carry over the fence for a 2-run shot, makes it a 6-2 lead for the Texas Rangers. And that lead would carry into the top of the 8th, where Luke Farrell came out of the pen for the 4th time this season since being called up. And with 1 out, it's going to be Victor Reyes at the plate, who chops one up the middle. No bunt this time with 1 out because nobody's on base, and he actually gets himself an infield single, so he's on first. Then Miguel Cabrera actually hits this time. Line drive up the middle, that's going to be back-to-back hits. First and second, 2 outs now. It is Christian Stewart who hits one over the head of Gallo in center field. That's going to drive in 1 run, make it a 6-3 game as Luke Farrell gives up a run, but then he would proceed to strike out Castro for the 3rd out and keep it at 6-3. Ronald Guzman says we don't need the closer in for this game, and he proceeds to mash a ball over the right field fence, a no-doubt shot. He continues his solid 2020 season as he extends the lead to 4. That allows Shane Carl to come in rather than Jose Leclerc, who needs a rest anyways. And Carl would get himself a 6-4-3 double play to end the game as the Texas Rangers complete the sweep of the Detroit Tigers by a score of 7-3 in this ball game, as they have now won 8 games in a row. Danny Santana gets player of the game honors. He had a home run and a double on the day, 2 runs driven in, 2 runs scored as well. Calhoun and Guzman, their only hits on the day were home runs in this 7-3 victory for the Texas Rangers. Kyle Cody, also worth mentioning, he had a great day on the hill in his 2nd career start. 7 innings pitched, 7 hits, but 8 strikeouts and only 2 earned runs given up and no walks. Solid outing for the former Kentucky Wildcat. And with that being said, it's going to wrap things up here for this edition of the Texas Rangers franchise. I've been your host, Jersey Born, and I am saying, get rid of every single brand Twitter account.